everyone! Today is the first day of the Biannual Bibliothon, and I thought I would give you guys an overview of my goals for the day. So, because I read multiple books at the same time, my goal isn't to finish X amount of books today, it's going to be to start all of my books today because I tend to read a couple chapters of one book and I move on to the next. It's 2:30 right now and I have started 2 of my books. I started Switching Time by Dr. Richard Baer. Quick synopsis. This is about a psychiatrist who is treating a woman who has multiple personality disorder. This is narrative nonfiction, so this is based off of a true story. Right now, it's really just been about the depression so far and not really about her multiple personalities. But I think it's really interesting that we're seeing the evolution of all this and how he came to know her and like what her presenting problems were and things like that. It's been really good so far. A really, really interesting story. And then the next one is See You in the Cosmos by Jack Chang. Our main character is 11 and he has this goal to send his iPod into space on a rocket ship. And so he's making these audio recordings for the aliens that he, assumes are going to be listening to this. And so if you open the book, you will see, I need to find a chapter, here we go, this entire book is just all of his recordings. And, it tells you how long the recording is, 5 minutes, 28 seconds. Most of it is just, him talking to himself more or less. But then sometimes there's other people on there, so it's kind of transcribed. So you know who's talking and things like that. It's been a really fast read. I'm like 65 pages in already and I'm really enjoying it. It's a really good story. I hope it continues to be just as interesting. So there's that. And then these are the books that are also on my TBR, but I haven't quite started yet. The next question is, what book do I want to start next? And honestly, I'm really excited about all of them, so it's really hard for me, but Eliza and Her Monsters is jumping out. So I think I'm going to read this one next. And I just love this cover. I mean, look at it. It is so cool. So that's my goal overall for the day. I will obviously tell you how many pages I end up reading in total. And so with that, I will just keep you updated. Hey, I've finally moved to where I actually do most of my reading, which is my couch in my living room. But anyway, it is 7 o'clock now, and I have started 2 more of the books on my TBR. I haven't gotten to Eliza quite yet, but that is literally the next book I'm going to pick up, so no worries, I will get to it today. I decided to start reading If I Was Your Girl. I was happily surprised by how much I really enjoyed reading this book. Like, I knew it was going to be interesting, but I didn't know how engaged I was going to be just instantly. So I flew through this. I read 60 pages already, and I could have kept going, but I was like, maybe I need to stop myself and move on so I can actually complete my goal of like actually starting all my books today. So I moved on to the Lord of Opium. This is my sequel pick. The original book is The House of the Scorpion. This takes place like immediately after the events of the first one, so I really can't talk about the plot without spoiling the first one, so I'm not going to. But I will say that this one was just not as engaging, at least so far, to read. Most of it so far is just giving you information from what happened in the first book, like, oh, in case you've forgotten. And I'm very familiar with the first book, so I didn't really need it, so that just wasn't necessary for me. I'll just have to wait and see. But I think that's why I took a break and why it's so late now, because I had to eat and things like that. But now I will jump into Eliza, and hopefully the rest of them will be going out at 9 though to hang out with some of my friends. We're gonna play this card game called Magic the Gathering, which is super nerdy, but it's really fun. And I've taught them how to play and they really like it, so I'm gonna do that at 9. So realistically, I only have 2 hours to start 3 books. I will keep you updated to see how far I actually get. Hey, I'm back from playing Magic the Gathering, which is why I look a little different. I had to make myself look good to go out with my friends, even if I was only playing Magic. Anyway, moving on to books. I did actually pick up Eliza and Her Monsters, and I really am enjoying it a lot so far. Because of my time constraint, I only read like 30 pages, but I wanted to keep going so badly. But I was like, Well, I should try to read some of my other books. So I also picked up Hitchhiker's Guide, and I read like 30 pages in that. And that was all I could really read within my time constraint, as well as like getting ready and things like that. So I didn't get to my last book, which I can show you. That was on my TBR, at least to start, and that's Bored and Brilliant. As you can see though, this is my like under 200 pick, so I'm not too worried about finishing it just in general, so like it should be fine. And I'll obviously pick that one up first tomorrow, and depending on how I'm feeling, I might kind of stick to just a couple different books tomorrow. I really want to finish something tomorrow so I feel accomplished. Tomorrow's Sunday, so other than going to church, I really don't have any plans, so I'm hoping to read a lot. But as far as today goes, I wanted to show you how much I ended up reading. So this is my daily breakdown for how many pages I've read each day. This is something new that I've started in January. And honestly, having started this, I do read more consistently. So as you can see, today I read 282 pages, which isn't quite my top one because you can see on the 7th here, I read 284, which is more or less the same. But I'm just surprised that today wasn't technically my best day. But I'm hoping that tomorrow will be, and that I will read at least 300 pages. So I have another goal on there for tomorrow. There you have it. I will leave you at that. Hey, it's day 2. And it's about 7 o'clock right now, p.m. I should say. Admittedly, I haven't done a whole lot of reading today, but I did manage to actually finish a book, and that would be Hitchhiker's Guide. As I showed you last time, it's 5 books in one, so I finished only like 140 pages of that giant tome, and that included the first book in that series. And that was a reread for me, so I pretty much knew what to expect, and it was just as quirky and funny as I remember it to be. But very short. I think that's just because when I read it the first time, I read it very, very slowly. And I think I also just continued right on to The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which is the next book. And now I'm stopping. So it just feels like the story hasn't ended yet. It was a really fun and amusing story, and I think like most people, my favorite character is probably Marvin, like the super manic depressed robot. Probably Arthur Dent. He's pretty great because he's like the one human left. Well, not really. There is Trillian, but he's kind of like the normal person, and he's just like fittingly outraged at everything, and it's just really fun to read from his perspective. As far as reading goes, I finished that, and I also finally started reading Bored and Brilliant, which I said I was going to do the other day and I didn't get around to, but I finally did start it today. I mean, admittedly only read like 30 pages, but that was one chapter. And because it is nonfiction, it's not one of those kinds of books that you necessarily want to read all at once. So I'm going to try to read like a chapter or two a day and kind of slowly pace myself through the experience and see how that goes. It is really interesting so far. So it talks about boredom and how boredom is actually really important, and it's actually telling us something. And if we allow ourselves to embrace boredom a little bit more, then we can be more creative and productive just in our day, which sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it does make sense on some level. And I wanted to share with you a quote from it. And the quote is this: "Boredom motivates the pursuit of a new goal when the current goal ceases to be satisfactory, attractive, or meaningful to you." And I honestly think that that quote hits home as far as what the purpose of boredom actually is, and how I think that most people misrepresent what boredom is. Because obviously everyone just says everything is boring, and it has this really negative connotation. I'm only 30 pages in, but I am enjoying it, even though it is nonfiction. So again, not really a book that you just like fly through all in one sitting, I don't think. I think it needs to be digested a little bit. But anyway, as far as the rest of the day, it is 7 o'clock, but this is normally when I do most of my reading for the day, so I do plan to hopefully finish another book. That would be amazing, especially considering I have 7 books in my TBR, and so on average I should be reading at least 1 book a day in order to actually meet that goal. So I have 1 book finished for the day, and that was my shortest book at 140 pages. So I'm hoping to read another one to actually be on par, if you will. So I'm hoping to read and finish If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. I like that this book is mainly about the experience of what it is to be a trans woman. It's just an interesting story just in and of itself. I feel like the characters feel real in some way because they are very flawed. I'm sensing that as well. So they feel authentic on some level. So I'm appreciating the story. So I'm curious to see exactly like where it's going because right now it seems like there's an obvious romance plot going in there and a potential like love triangle, which I don't really care about love triangles, but I am kind of intrigued how that is going to play out in the story. I wish the one guy, which I'm blanking on his name right now, the obnoxious football player that's totally into her, even though she's totally not interested in him. She's interested in his friend. I cannot stand him, and I hope he just like disappears because he seems obnoxious. But I really like the budding romance between her and I think his name is Grant. That's been really cute so far. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out and what's going to happen with that. So those are my thoughts, and I will keep you updated if I actually do finish that book today. Hey, it's almost midnight, and I am happy to say that I have finally finished If I Was Your Girl. I powered through it. I actually was able to finish it. Admittedly, it took quite a long time, but I'm so happy that I did it. And overall, thoughts on the book, I really enjoyed it. I think I'll probably give it like 4 stars. I think it was really engaging and really easy to read, and I think it brings up some really interesting points. I really appreciated it. At the same time, though, I wish that there had been so much more to the story and so much more to it, but I understand that this book wasn't set out to tell like every part of the story, just like this specific part. Overall, I still did really enjoy it, but I think it just makes me want to read up more about this topic and more of what it's like, especially like during the actual transition part. You don't get a whole lot of that, like you get glimpses of it, and it only just scratches the surface. But I did really enjoy this, and so that means I finished 2 books today. So I completed my goal. I doubled my goal. That's exciting. So I am right on track then, that means, but that also means I have to finish a book tomorrow and so on. We'll see what happens, and I will also like to say that I completed my goal of reading more than 300 pages today, which I honestly wasn't sure if that was going to happen, but nighttime is just my time to read, I guess. I tend to read the most then. And I completed a total of 366 pages today in total, which is just amazing. Now, as far as my plans for tomorrow, I have my internship from 9 to 5. I'll have to get dinner, and then I'll be playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is super nerdy, but it's just starting up again, and so I obviously have to be there. We haven't fully decided if we're starting a new campaign yet or if we're like starting with our old characters. You don't need to know this. But anyway, so it'll be interesting to see everyone again. That is my plan for tomorrow. So it's kind of a busy day in some sense. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to finish anything or that I'll read a lot, but I will try to read when I can. We'll see what happens, and I will keep you updated. Hey, quick update. It is now officially day 3 of the readathon, though it's 5 p.m. I just finished my internship, and honestly, it was pretty busy there, so I didn't get a whole lot of chance to read there. So I did end up reading like 30 pages in this book, not quite even. I'm going to head home and I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to try to fit in a little bit more reading before I go to my Dungeons and Dragons tonight at 7:30. So I don't have a whole lot of time to do that, maybe like an hour and a half, depending on how fast I cook and everything. So we'll see what happens, and I will definitely keep you updated. Hey, it's a little after midnight, and admittedly I'm really tired. But before I go to bed, I thought I would just update you quick. So, I wanted to let you know that I read 136 pages in See You in the Cosmos. I'm really enjoying it a lot. I would finish it if it wasn't so late already. It's really good. So I have like 100 more pages left in that book, and I'll be able to finish it. So I'll most likely finish it tomorrow and then start on to another book, because tomorrow I have one class and that is literally it. So it's a pretty open day, so I'm excited. So I should be able to get lots of reading done.